What's up, users? It's the Russian dude. There are moments in every war when the explosions matter less than what they expose, and right now Russia's oil refineries, those massive steel lungs pumping life into the entire economy, they are going up in flames faster than the Kremlin can invent excuses. For weeks, fireballs have been lighting up the night skies from Belgorod to Krasnodar. Refineries are falling like dominoes, and residents of entire regions are lining up at gas stations like it is 1990s all over again. But here's the twist. This is not just an economic hiccup or another minor disruption, as propagandists try to cover. This is political dynamite. This is the political implosion. This is the kind of chaos that shows exactly how fragile the system has become, how exposed Putin's war machine now is, and most dangerously for the Kremlin, how weak the strongman suddenly looks. You might hear the usual official talking heads laugh it off, saying everything is under control, as if 40% of Russia's refining capacity being disabled is just a small inconvenience, like losing your favorite teacup, I don't know. And meanwhile, drivers in Crimea are allowed to pump only 20 liters at a time. Half of the gas stations in annexed territories are closed completely. And independent fuel stations across Russia quietly shut their doors because they literally have nothing else to sell. Zero empty, not a drop of gasoline. This is not a rumor, and it's not a Western fantasy or propaganda. It is happening right now inside Russia. And Russians are watching it unfold every single day. So today, let's talk about what these refinery strikes actually mean, why they terrify the Kremlin far more than they admit, how they shatter the illusion of Putin's unstoppable power, and why this new phase of the war, where Ukraine hits not just troops, but the economic arteries of Russia, may actually reshape the entire conflict. Because the biggest damage is not measured in rubles, it is measured in fear. And trust me, the Kremlin has plenty of that right now. If you cannot force Putin to sit at the negotiation table through military achievements, make him do it out of the necessity of an ongoing economic disaster. He can ignore hundreds of thousands of people dying, we already know it, but he will never ignore rubles not pouring into his pocket or pockets of his friends. Let's start with the obvious. Ukraine is not just hitting military warehouses or isolated depots. They are striking the core. Experts estimate that a staggering 40 or 30 at the least of Russia's refining capabilities have been knocked offline already. That means gasoline shortages not in some faraway outposts, but in major regions across the country, in the biggest cities as well. That means Crimean drivers waiting in lines that wrap around entire blocks. That means pumps closing by the hundreds because the state, despite all of its bravado, cannot keep its own gas flowing. Its own gas flowing. And no, simple seasonal chart will not explain this away. You cannot say just unusually dry summer, that's why, when half of Crimea fuel stations are shut down. You cannot point to market fluctuations when a government-controlled price ceiling makes price signals useless. Russia does not operate like the US, where market forces correct themselves like in every economy should. In Russia, the only correction comes from shortages. And shortages always mean something catastrophic is happening behind the scenes. And so what is happening right now, the question is. A country that once bragged about being energy superpower is quietly rationing fuel. They will not call it rationing, of course, they will call it temporary limitations, the same way a dictator calls censorship security measures. But Russians know that what they are looking at. They know this, they see it with their own eyes. They experience it by not being able to drive their cars. They remember the days when shelves were half empty and the government insisted everything was fine. And those memories are now resurfacing very hard. Most importantly, this is the first major, undeniable, economically tangible pain caused directly by Ukraine's battlefield strategy and decisions. Not sanctions, not self-inflicted paranoia now. Actual damage from a war Putin claimed would be quick, painless and victorious. The kind of damage that makes people ask uncomfortable questions like, why cannot our military protect our infrastructure? Why is the Kremlin acting like nothing is happening? And if they cannot defend all refineries, like the very backbone of the Russian economy, what else they cannot defend? Why are we even fighting then? The facade begins to crack not when the enemy wins, but when your own people stop believing you can. 2025 is almost over and we are falling into the same trap again. Waiting for January 1st to start, and then just to start something new or learn a new skill. But here's the truth. You don't need a new year to make a new start. AI was one of the most in-demand skills of 2025, according to the World Economic Forum. Yet, most of us did not learn it. And that puts us to risk, not just at falling behind, but of being replaced. Let me tell you about the 2-day live AI mastermind training by Outskill, the world's first AI-focused educational platform, happening this Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on both days. And the timing is perfect, because they have their year and holiday offer going on, so you can get in absolutely for free, instead of the usual $395. Outskill is rated 4.9 out of 5 on Trustpilot, and this 16-hour live experience by them has been attended by more than 10 million people worldwide, professionals like you, across fields like marketing, finance, engineering, and data, mentored directly by AI experts from companies like Microsoft and Nvidia. The best part about it all, this training is not just about learning tools, it's about challenging the way you work. You will learn how to use AI to simplify your daily tasks, build AI agents that plan, create, and automate your workflows, design AI automations that connect tools like Sheets, Notions, and CRMs to save hours, and also gain ready-to-use AI systems for your job, business, or freelance projects. But learning those skills is not just enough. The most important part is knowing how to monetize them. Outskill's learners have launched AI-powered businesses that even build weekly revenue models worth $4,000 to $5,000. Not just that, you will receive bonuses worth $5,000, including a prompt Bible, a roadmap to monetize AI, and a personalized AI toolkit builder, but only if you attend both these days. This Christmas, gift this opportunity to someone who you think could benefit from learning AI, as it could change their career in 2026. Seats are limited, grab yours now via the link in the description, and also you can join the WhatsApp community to stay updated before the big blast. Thank you so much Outskill for sponsoring this video, and now back to the program. For 43 months, Russians have been living in a psychological fog. Propaganda told them the war is going well, that the army was advancing, that the West was trembling, and that Putin was playing simultaneously 3 different games of 4D chess, while everyone else struggled to just keep up playing with tic-tac-toe, I know. And for a while many believed it, because they were not looking at facts, they were looking at impressions, instincts, gut feelings shaped by decades of carefully crafted myth-making. But the war refused to behave like propaganda. It refused to end in 3 days and then in 10 weeks, as the confident analysts predicted back in 2022. It refused simply to give Putin the clean victory he promised. Ukraine refused to collapse. NATO refused to retreat. And slowly, painfully, reality clawed its way back into the Russian consciousness. First came the retreat from Kiev, then Kharkiv, then Kherson. Then came Prigozhin's rebellion, the mutiny that tore the mask off Putin's face and showed the world, and most importantly the Russians themselves, that the emperor was not just naked, he was panicking. Running around like headless chicken at the first sign of axe. A man who spent 20 years threatening everyone with annihilation could not even stop a convoy of former prisoners driving towards Moscow. The best he could do is to ask local authorities to destroy roads with excavators. I mean, how ridiculous is that? And so now, as Ukraine hits refinery after refinery while Putin stares blankly into cameras pretending nothing is wrong, the illusion of invincibility is evaporating again. Even Trump, who once admired Putin's strength, is now calling him a paper tiger and endorsing Ukrainian strikes inside Russia. I mean, just imagine it. The man Putin pinned all his hopes on, Trump, is openly mocking him on the world stage. That's far more damaging than losing a refinery. That's the kind of humiliation that undermines the entire mythology of the Russian strongman. The kind of humiliation authoritarian systems cannot tolerate. A person obsessed with not being humiliated, and now just receiving exactly that. Attacks inside Russia started slowly, carefully at first, because people still believed in Putin's red lines, which later turned out to be brown lines, but that's a whole nother story. And once no response followed, the war crossed the border and came right home. Let's talk about it in our next chapter. For 2 years, the Kremlin has insisted that the war does not affect ordinary Russians, that life would remain stable and prosperous, that the military would handle everything quietly while the rest of the population bought new Ladas, line up for IKEA knockoffs, or browsed Instagram clones, or maybe messaged on Max Messenger. But now the war is no longer over there. It's inside Russian borders. Not in the form of missiles hitting Moscow every day, but in the form of shortages, rationing, and visible state paralysis. The Kremlin's response to the refinery crisis is not strong, decisive, or strategic. It's just bureaucratic nonsense. Raise the price caps, lower the price caps. Buy fuel from Belarus, ban exports. Issue more ОФЗ, облигаций федерального займа, increase taxes. Make small businesses pay VAT taxes, punish people who import used cars from Korea. South Korea. You know, all the typical steps a stable, confident government would definitely take while pretending they're not in the free fall. The government makes the decisions and the people pay the price. This is not policy, this is just pure panic. The most dangerous part for the Kremlin is that Russians are starting to see it. When drones hit Belgorod's oil depots in 2022, state TV screamed for vengeance. Today, silence. Complete silence. Silence so loud it exposes everything they want to hide. The propagandists are terrified to admit the scale of the disaster because their entire job is to maintain the illusion of control. But the illusion is dying, one burning refinery at a time. And if Ukrainians can freely destroy what fuels Russian war the most, what else they can do? Why shouldn't they be not able to even do it? Why should they be afraid to do it? And not just Ukrainians, everyone should take notes, especially people inside Russia. The man is not as scary as he seems. Every authoritarian system relies on two ingredients: money and myth. Money keeps the elites loyal. Myth keeps the population obedient. But both are crumbling. The treasury is running dry, the economy is bleeding from every direction, labor shortages, budget deficits, collapsing shadow fleet, and now mass refinery damage, obviously. The myth of Putin's omnipresence is cracking right down the middle. Once this facade breaks, there is no gluing it back together. When elites stop seeing Putin as invincible, as protector, they stop fearing him. When citizens stop believing he can protect them also, they stop respecting him. And when the world stops taking his threats seriously, I don't think anyone else still does it, he becomes what he always feared most, a joke. A man who started the war expecting to redraw the global order and instead ended up importing gasoline like a failed dictatorship scrambling to survive. Come on. Ukraine no longer needs to strike Moscow to achieve this, even though it helps. They simply need to continue exposing Putin's inability to control events. And nothing exposes weakness like failing to protect the backbone of your own economy while pretending everything else is fine. There is only one stakeholder in this war, one man making every single decision, one man the entire system depends on. And right now that man is visibly losing his magic. The longer this war drags on, the more the facade erodes and the closer Russia drifts to the point where even the elites start whispering, maybe it is time then, maybe it is time to change something. In the end, this is not a story about oil refineries, it's a story about power, about perception. About a leader who built his empire on the illusion of control and now watches that illusion crumble in real time. Russia can fix fuel shortages easy. It can buy gasoline from Belarus for higher prices because business is business, nothing personal. It can patch together the economy with duct tape, emergency decrees, declare everything as normal, keep the interest rates high, but it cannot repair a broken myth. Once people see weakness, real weakness, undeniable weakness, the spell is already broken. Putin is not losing because refineries are burning. He's losing because everyone can see that he has absolutely no idea what to do about it. And in a system built entirely on the image of an all-powerful ruler, that is the beginning of the end. Well, there you have it, guys. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Thanks so much Outskill for sponsoring this video. All these links are down below. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow.
We do not believe in ridiculous Russian propaganda.